Second Kings today. A story which you may remember if you went to vacation Bible school or Sunday school when you were a child, but not one that gets preached on an awful lot. 2 Kings chapter 5, begin with verse 1. Listen to the story of Naaman. 2 Kings chapter 5, verse 1. Naaman, commander of the army of the king of Aram, was a great man and in high favor with his master, because by him the Lord had given victory to Aram. The man, though a mighty warrior, suffered from leprosy. Now, the Arameans on one of their raids had taken a young girl captive from the land of Israel, and she served as a slave to Naaman's wife. One day she said to her mistress, "If only my Lord were with the prophet who is in Samaria, he would cure him of his leprosy." So Naaman went in and told his Lord just as the girl from the land of Israel had said. And the king of Aram said, "Go then, and I will send along a letter to the king of Israel." He went, taking with him 10 talents of silver, 6,000 shekels of gold, and 10 sets of garments. He brought the letter to the king of Israel, which read, "When this letter reaches you, know that I have sent to you my servant Naaman, that you may cure him of his leprosy." When the king of Israel read the letter, he tore his clothes and he said, Am I God? Am I God to give death or life, that this man sends word to me to cure a man of his leprosy? Just look and see how he is trying to pick a quarrel with me. But when Elisha, the man of God, heard that the king of Israel had torn his clothes, he sent a message to the king. "Why have you torn your clothes? Let him come to me, that he may learn that there is a prophet in Israel." So Naaman came with his horses and chariots, and he halted at the entrance of Elisha's house. And Elisha sent a messenger to him, saying, "Go and wash in the Jordan 7 times, and your flesh shall be restored, and you shall be clean." But Naaman became angry, and he went away, saying, "I thought that for me he would surely come out and stand and call on the name of the Lord his God, and would wave his hand over me, his hand over the spot, and cure the leprosy. Are not Abana and Pharpar, the rivers of Damascus, better than all the waters of Israel? Could I not wash in them and be made clean?" He turned and he went away in a rage. But his servants approached him and said to him, "Father, if the prophet had commanded you to do something difficult, would you not have done it? How much more when all he said to you was, 'Wash, be made clean'?" So Naaman went down and he immersed himself 7 times in the Jordan, according to the word of the man of God. His flesh was restored like the flesh of a young boy, and he was clean. Friends, this is the word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
Thanks be to God. We can almost see the man standing there. If we close our eyes and we listen to the words of the scripture, we can almost see the man. He is a great military general. He is the conqueror of foreign nations. He is the confidant of kings. He is great and mighty. He has built an empire for his master. He has the ear of his king. He has dragged slaves from foreign countries. He is a great and mighty man, this Naaman. But wait, there's something unusual in this picture. I mean, look again. He is standing buck naked by a muddy stream of water. And if we look really closely, we can see him standing there, hands on his hips and shaking his head. And then if we listen closely, he's saying something. Now, this guy's angry. This man is standing there naked before God, man, and everybody else, shaking his head. He's angry. He's growling through clenched teeth. "I cannot believe I'm going to do this. I can't believe I'm going to do this." Of course, it's also difficult to believe the circumstances which brought him to this mighty river. I mean, who would have ever thought that one so rich, so powerful, who would have thought that one who had everything, who would have thought that one who commanded kings and armies, who would have thought that he who had everything could ultimately be so cursed? He's so powerful, he's so rich, he could have everything. How is he so cursed? I am sure no one was more shocked than Naaman when he heard the physician say, it's leprosy. Oh, leprosy is a terrible disease. A terrible disease which got one ostracized in Israel. It was a terrible disease, an incurable disease. It's leprosy, Naaman. But then his shock turned to sadness when they said, and we can't do anything about it. There's nothing we can do. You see, friends, money and power can buy a lot of things, and apparently not a cure. So Naaman had to live with his curse. Naaman had to learn to get along, to keep it covered so no one would see it. He had to be very careful so that no one knew his shame. He had learned to live with it. That is until he got a little bit of unexpected help from an unexpected place. It was his wife's slave who said, if only your husband could go to the prophet in Samaria, I am sure that he can heal him. Now, a slave said this, so I can imagine how that conversation went down to Naaman's house. I mean, he is a great military general. Like I said, he does have the king's ear. Imagine when his wife comes to him and says, hey, by the way, my slave said this to you. I expect Naaman dismissed these words at first. What can that girl possibly know that my physicians couldn't tell me, he might have said. I mean, I dragged her from Israel myself. She's just a slave. What can she possibly know? But Naaman's wife, not quite as hardened as her war and battle husband, begged him, go to the king, she said. Just go to the king. Get him to send you back to Israel, not with a sword, but with gifts and tributes. Now, I don't know how long the two argued. Scripture is silent about that. If they even argued at all, I'm sort of making this up as we go along. Just follow me here, friends. We're getting to a point. So how long they argued, Scripture doesn't know, but Naaman was not only a great military general, he's a smart guy. He knows that happy wife means happy life. So eventually, this great military general had to go to the king hat in hand, embarrassed that he couldn't take care of his own problem. Naaman had to go, and he had to stand there, this great military general, before his king and shuffle uncomfortably on his feet and stutter, I've got this problem and I can't fix it and I need to go to Israel. Now, surely the king of Aram was pleased to help. I mean, Scripture says he didn't even ask a question. After all, why should he? Naaman had won him many great military victories. He would do anything to bring back the confidence of his great general. He would do anything to make this man a winner again. By all means, let me raid the temple treasury. Let me choose gifts worthy of the neighboring king, gold and silver and outfits of clothing. And here, take this letter with you. So the king of Aram sends Naaman on a journey, which, after a few twists and turns, finds him where we started this message, standing humbly, naked, on the banks of Jordan. Hard to ask for help, isn't it, friends? It's hard to ask for help, isn't it? I mean, to realize that we've exhausted all of our resources, all of the smarts, all the best that Bedford County Public Schools can provide, can prepare us for this. Even Virginia Tech education couldn't do it. Even a UVA diploma can't fix this. I'm an equal opportunity offender.
I noticed that.
You'll see no favoritism here. Neither Virginia Tech nor UVA could solve this problem. I mean, to ask someone else to step in is tough. Why? Because from the moment we are born, we are taught to become independent people. We cry for our mother's milk only for a short time. It doesn't take long, 18 months, 2 years old, before we're old enough to say, no, mommy, me do it. No, we do it. The of course, by then we had progressed from crawling to walking to running, and at each step we had been rewarded for our growing independence with a hearty, "Good job! Good job! Look at you giving me such a big girl! You're such a big boy! I'm so proud of you!" And soon the years between our first day of school and graduation day elapse, and before we know it, we are adults with families and jobs and homes and cars and possessions and all the responsibilities that comes with them. And at each step of the way, we have pulled ourselves up by the bootstraps. We have looked out for number one. We have built a kingdom, an empire. We are the kings and queens of our own castles, and we have done it all by ourselves. We are proud that we have built these kingdoms. But then something happens that we can't fix. And then all bets are off. Because now, we have to go hand in hand. I'll never forget that moment in my own life. We had a baby and one on the way. We were living out in the country, and I had to go to my dad for money. We had finally exhausted all of our resources, and I've never been so nervous in all my life than to have to go and stand hat in hand with my dad and ask for money because I couldn't make rent. It was a humiliating, humbling moment in the course of our lives. But I remembered well to come up against that financial obstacle that whatever it is, we can't do it by ourselves. All bets are off. Now I'm guessing that's what Naaman thought as he cooled himself. He cooled his heels outside the prophet's house. Now, he didn't immediately go to the prophet's house. No, the story reminds us that he's a great general, and a great general would only appear before a king. And besides, his note said, "Go to the king of Israel so he can heal you." So Naaman had started there with the king of Israel, and he took great gifts of tribute. Little wonder the king of Israel trembled when he was presented with Naaman's gifts. You see, rules of hospitality at the time said he had to take these gifts. When this foreign visitor came, the king of Israel could not say, "Oh, no, thank you, I have enough gold." He couldn't say that. He had to take it. But taking it meant he then had to perform the task that the gift asked. Now we understand why he's so upset. Not only did he have to take it, now he had to do what the note said. And the note said, "So that the king can heal you." There's no wonder the king of Israel cried out, "I am not God. I cannot heal this man." He feared another provocation from the Aramaites to give them fuel to invade them again. He's picking a quarrel with me. See what he's doing. So the king of Israel tore his clothes out of fear and grief and anxiety. But before he could overact any further, the prophet Elisha heard about the king's distress. And first, he chided the king for his lack of faith. "Why are you tearing your clothes, man? Cool. Why are you so upset about this?" Then he confidently said, "Just send him to me. I'll take care of this problem for the king. He will know that there is a prophet in Israel." So that's why Naaman went, with all of his regal splendor, with his chariots, with his horses, with his servants, to where Elisha could be found. And then he got there, and he knocked on the door. Actually, he didn't get one of the slaves to it. Maybe they blew a trumpet. Bah, 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 bah. And Naaman stepped off the chariot. And he waited. He waited. And he waited some more. Friends, is there anything worse than waiting? I mean, is there anything worse than waiting? I mean, anyone who's had medical testing knows the answer to that. I mean, the time between when a problem is identified and the doctor calls for the course of treatment is infinite. And between those two times, the mind begins to play tricks on us. It's like when you buy a red car. You ever bought a red car? And suddenly every car on the road is a red car, or a white car, or silver, whatever color you bought. It's always that way. Well, the same thing it is with while you're waiting on some sort of a diagnosis. When you're waiting on it, the mind plays tricks. Suddenly, every news story that you see on the 6 o'clock news has something about the disease we think we've got. Every magazine at the checkout line has it. Well-meaning friends and family tell stories about the time I had those exact same symptoms. And they're well-meaning, but frankly, it's not particularly helpful because until the doctor calls, all we can do is wait. Of course, sitting on pins and needles isn't just for bad news. All expectant parents know that a due date is more of a suggestion than a reality. Right? We know that in our family. Lots of babies are born 1 day, 2 days, 5 days.
2 weeks.
In my household, 14 days or longer. My wife would still be pregnant with our oldest daughter if they hadn't induced her labor. And we think the child was ever going to come. I mean, it's a suggestion, really. But as you sit around and wait for that baby to come, oh, and the worst is this. Oh my goodness, are you still pregnant? No, swallow the watermelon. Are you still here? Yeah, where'd you think I was going? I can't believe you haven't had that baby. Neither can I. You buy me a drink and we'll talk about it. I mean, I can't believe it either. Well-meaning friends. Not helpful. It's not helpful. Or ask any 8-year-old and they will tell you the longest day of the year is what? Christmas Eve. Christmas Eve is not a 24-hour period when you're 8. It is 36 hours minimum. Now, in both instances, a baby will be born and Christmas Day will arrive, but the wait for good or bad news can be unbearable. I'm sure that's what Naaman thought as he waited for the door of the prophet to open and for the prophet to appear. As he stood there, imagine his surprise when it was a servant who came out to greet him. No trumpets, no fanfare, none of it. Instead, the prophet sent his servant. And when the man spoke, what he said sounded silly. Yeah, go take a bath in Jordan 7 times, and then your flesh will be restored. Have a nice day. Turn on his heels, went in and shut the door, perhaps slamming it for good effect. And Naaman threw a royal fit. How dare he? How dare that man? At that moment, all of his pride, all of his insecurities, I mean, he had had to humble himself over and over and over again. His waiting patience, all of it, exploded in anger. I would have thought, he said, I would have thought, he raged, that for a great general like myself, he would have come out by him, he would have come out to himself. I am going to tweet about this. I am going to tweet, I have been offended. I am going to post this on my Facebook page. I'm going to Insta this on my Instagram. I would have thought for a great general like me, he would have come out. And besides, any river in Aram is better than this ditch they call the Jordan. Again, in our mind's eye, we can see him stomp back to that chariot, get into it and crack the whip and tear off down the road with his servants in tow trying to catch up. Because all of his waiting had been for naught. Any hope he had had tucked away in his heart was now dashed. The great and mighty Naaman had been snubbed by a Sumerian prophet, a no-account, backwater fortune teller. He had to battle his wife, he had to battle the king, and then he had to go. He had humbled himself so many times. And now his feelings were hurt. Now, knowing that the general could easily channel his hurt feelings any way they wished and easily have turned their whip on them, I suspect it took a while before Naaman's servants mustered enough courage to speak. Finally, some servant, or the Bible says a group of them, called up to him and eventually said, Father, if the prophet had told you to do something difficult, had he come out and waved his hands with some hocus pocus over you, and told you to do something difficult, you certainly would have done it, right? What do you have to lose to try something so simple? It must have been hard for him to swallow his pride again. First he swallowed it for his wife, then before he went before his own king, and now before his servants. You see, it's easier to stay angry. Somehow more satisfying to stay angry. Back in the good old days, remember you really get angry with when you got to slam it down? Not sure. Slam! Did it once. Didn't end well. Didn't end well. Remember when there's something about being able to harbor the anger deep down inside. There's something about being able to make friends with it and hold on to it, because then you can yell at other people. You can kick the dog and scream at your wife. You can and just sort of get that vented feeling out. We used to talk about how good it was to vent our feelings. But that's not what Naaman did. No, Naaman had swallowed his pride a few times, so he did it one more time. He brought the chariot to rest somewhere by the river. He climbed down, and then in the ultimate act of humility, he stood naked before God and man and the world. There he was, humble before the world. And this is where we pick up our story. I imagine Naaman rolled his eyes, said something like, "This is so stupid. It's not going to work." Well, I can see him looking back over his servants now. It's not going to work. Stupid. But the servants were right. Other than his pride and limited time, what did he have to lose? So with one more shake of his head, I imagine Naaman doing a great big cannonball right into the Jordan River. I'm a great general, might as well make a splash. And he jumped once, twice, 5 times, 6 times, and with each time he looked at the leper spots and he would snarl at the servant, "See, I told you, it's not working, it's not changing." The prophet said 7 times, "Father, I heard you." Stupid. Dumb. And he jumped the 7th time. And that's when everything changed. His leprosy had finally disappeared. You know, friends, other than what we've heard about how hard it is to wait, about humility, there are a lot more lessons to be learned in the story. I mean, I could have preached 6 sermons on this. I'll spare you. Here are the highlights. We could have said something, for example, about how God blesses our enemies. That's what Naaman, the Syrian general, was to the Israelites. He was an enemy. How many other Israelites had leprosy that weren't told to jump in the Jordan River 7 times? How many Israelites suffered, ostracized by their own people, that God chose to heal an enemy? And friends, don't we just hate it when our enemies prosper? Don't we hate it? It also bears repeating a familiar lesson from lots of stories in the Bible. With all of his money, with all of his power, with all of his position, it didn't buy him any happiness. It doesn't buy us either. No matter who we are. Couldn't buy a cure, couldn't buy us happiness. One of my favorite lessons in this story, however, is the reaction of Israel's king and General Naaman when each assumed the other had a hidden agenda. I love that part of the story. I mean, here Naaman thought that the king of Israel was holding out. The king of Israel thought that Naaman was coming to pick a fight with him. And both of them spent an awful lot of time anxious and angry because they did not understand or trust each other's motives. Self-centeredness will do that. Self-centeredness will do that. It makes us mistrustful. It makes us arrogant. It makes us self-centered. It makes us afraid of different people and different ideas. Hidden agendas. It can also make us jealous, impatient, thus missing God's blessing. That's another lesson the story teaches us. Impatience, jealousy can make us miss a blessing. And here's one more lesson. Did you notice in this story who gives the best advice? In this story, who always has the right answer? Anybody know? The slaves. Yeah. Yeah, in this story, it's the servants who are the smart ones. It's the servants who know. The lesson we can learn, may we never be so haughty that we stop listening to other people, no matter who they are. May we never be so filled with our own self-importance. May we never pound on someone's door and expect the master of the house to come out and give us some task. No. All are worthy. All are equally important. I don't care if you preach and teach. I don't care if you clean the toilets. There's no unimportant job. And we ought to listen to all of them. Never be so hard that we stop and listen to others, no matter who they are, for no one is beneath us. No one. You see, friends, there are a lot of lessons to be learned in this story. I wonder which one we will choose to learn from today. Amen. Lord God, I thank you so much for the story of Naaman and his leprosy. And help us, Lord God, in our own lives to see the leprous spots on ourselves. Help us to open our hearts and our minds to those who have answers. And even when there are no answers, help us to be able to rely upon you, Lord God, trusting you. Help us to humble ourselves as Naaman did by the Jordan. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.